Hi, Corey.
Hi.
Oh, I can hear you too.
Oh, good.
Okay.
I have it all the way turned up, so hopefully it won't be a problem.
So far, you are the only one.
Well, I'm here.
Yes.
My kids are watching Netflix, so hopefully they'll stay quiet for this whole thing. I'm not sure. We may have some interruptions, but hopefully they'll. It's just the little one. He's the loud one, but so hopefully he'll.
I
he'll be
understand. I totally understand.
Yeah, I just got home. I was in Milford today, so now I think I'm ahead on hours, so I feel good. Now I feel much a little more settled because I was a little like, oh no.
Corey, I would have come to visit you today, but I took my car in to be inspected yesterday, and in Bangor, at the Bangor Darlings, but that's not where I bought my car. I had to take it to Ellsworth this morning to get it checked. Yeah.
Ooh, that's a haul.
Yeah. Ellsworth and back.
Well, I got your email, and that's fine. It's going really well, so I don't have any. Yeah, I don't think she has any concerns either. So she's given me a lot of responsibility. She's like, do you want to do this math lesson? Do you want to do this cafe daily 5? So it's really it's going pretty well. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah. She's really, and she's inviting me to parent teacher conferences that they have during Ed Week. They have their second trimester parent teacher conferences, so she's going to have me come to those. So she's really giving me a lot of opportunities, which is awesome. So
yeah.
So
I still want to come in just once, and that probably will be during Ed Week.
Oh,
okay,
that sounds good. Sounds great.
Probably that Tuesday, the 24th.
Oh. Okay. Oh, do we have someone else?
Yep. It's Jen.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
We're just getting started. Not everyone is on yet.
Okay.
Yeah. I think one thing I'm going to probably do is suggest that people come on about 10 minutes early. So that we're all set for, the top of the hour. Oh, somebody else. There's Nicole.
Oh, here she comes. Yay.
Yes.
Hi, Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
Oh, it's working this time.
Yeah.
Last time I tried, it didn't work very well.
It did. You did it.
Yep, there we go.
Well,
I realized.
While everyone is waiting, if you would make sure that you have the agenda in front of you, because I'm going to follow that, because we're going to be really structured today, since this is still, just a pilot. And so have your agenda and your assignments that were due. Hopefully you can pull those up quickly. The ones that we do, I'm going to be asking you to do something with those. And the cover sheet or the profile sheet for assignment 7. So you can be looking for those while we're waiting.
Okay. I'm going to go pull up all that stuff.
Hey, Zach.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey. It's going well.
Good to hear it.
Hey, Zach.
Hey, how are you guys?
Hello.
Hello.
Hey,
Can you hear me?
There's Kate.
Yeah.
Oh, I can hear you, Caitlin.
Oh, hey, look, it's Nicole.
Well, hi, Nicole. She's back. Welcome, Caitlin.
Hello. Sorry, this is going to get fuzzy for a second here.
I think we're just waiting for Abby. Looks like we've lost somebody, too.
No, I'm back. I'm just getting
Yeah, Caitlin, but I think we've lost somebody else here.
No, I don't think so.
No, I have everyone besides.
Cora?
My internet's sketchy, but it's working right now, so let's just keep it up.
Yeah,
Because I'm at home.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
All right. Hold on.
But now we don't have Nicole.
I'm right here.
Yeah, she just goes to the
Oh, I see. I see.
We have to like 12 people.
Oh, all right, I get it. You guys want to meet my dog?
Meet your dog.
Oh, wait. There she is.
Aww.
Good dog. My dog's wandering in and out, but she can't see very well. She has no idea what's going on. And I have a cat on my legs. I'll probably have more cat visitors. We have a lot of cats. All right.
So I'm going to give it about 1 more minute, and then I'm going to start. We are still waiting for Abby. I don't believe she's there. And Pam Kimball. I'm not sure if Pam is joining us or not. I haven't heard from her, but she was intending to. And she has a little bit to do with this agenda, so I hope she comes on. So if she does, and when she does, we'll just welcome her. So about another minute. Again, make sure, if you didn't hear what I said up front at the beginning, if you weren't on, make sure you have the agenda in front of you, because we're going to follow that pretty closely. And your assignments for assignment 6, I'm going to ask you to be doing something with those, and also the cover sheet and profile sheet for assignment 7. Can you get to all of those?
Got them. I think I have them
I'm
all.
working on it.
Okay. All right.
Cover sheets. Yes. Got that.
Wait, so we need the agenda and the assignment number 7 task thing. Is that it, or was there a third thing?
Well, I'm going to be asking you to recall things from assignment 6. So you might want to have those available.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Because I didn't, I know that you gave them to me, but I don't have them in front of me. Hopefully you do, and I'm going to ask you some questions about assignment 6.
Those were due today, right?
Those were.
Okay. That's fine. Making sure.
Zach, were you in school today?
Can anybody hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We are all on. Yeah.
Okay.
Is Alicia coming?
She's on vacation.
Yes.
Oh, I thought she was going to log on this way.
Isn't she like in the Caribbean?
Yeah.
She's not available, but I want you all to know too that you're being
I
recorded.
can't hear anything.
We can hear you.
So
You click your audio thing? No. Oh, she probably can't hear me.
I'm going to try this again.
You won't be able to hear what I'm saying.
I just have to let my dog out. Hold on. We can start, but I'm just letting you know that I have to let my dog out, so we'll all go on a trip. Come on, Belle. Hurry up. Sorry.
Okay, Abby.
Oh, cool. I didn't know it had a chat. Technology blows my mind.
I also can share the screen, but I haven't figured out how to do that.
Come on, Belle. Hey. Bella. Come on. Come on. Come on.
Right out. Oh my goodness, with Caitlin.
Yep.
Okay, I am going to start. Taking a look at the agenda, what I'd like to do is mention a really important change in this semester, and that's that there'll be a seminar on March 24th. Are there any questions or concerns about that?
What was the other date?
24th.
The other date was March 31st, and we will not have that seminar.
Okay.
We'll have it 2 weeks after March 24th, and somebody...
I can hear. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Hi, Abby.
I just stole my brother's headphones, so.
Oh, well.
Okay, again, seminar on March 24th. And the way I'm going to do this, I think, in order so that we're all not talking over each other is when I ask you to add something, I'm going to do it in order and do it this way, okay? So, like I said, this is going to be very structured. We won't always do it this way. If we do this again, we won't always do it this way, but just for learning purposes. So Jenna, would you go first? And then Caitlin, and then Nicole, and then Abby, and then Corey, and then Zach. Sorry, Zach. Alicia, again, in the Caribbean, but she's going to be viewing this because we are recording as we speak. Okay?
Hello, Alicia.
Hope she's having a great time. So let's start off by, I'm going to ask you have there been any surprises in the field since we've last spoken? And we'll start with you, Jenna. And if you want to pass, just say pass if you haven't been in the field. Any surprises?
I haven't been in the field since the week before spring break, so not yet.
Okay, all right. Caitlin, how about you?
Not really. I mean, I went out a couple times. I went out 3 times last week. I'm just thinking I don't know. I have a question, but I think that'll come at the end.
Okay.
So.
Okay, no problem. Nicole.
I can't think of much for surprises. I was there today and I was there last Tuesday. But nothing really surprising, I don't think. Just kind of normal. Today we went to a Jaws ensemble at the high school, which is right down the road. So that was different, but it wasn't really surprising.
All right. I'm not, if you have a surprise, that's great. If you don't, that's all right too. But okay, thanks, Nicole. Where did you go, by the way, to the high school?
We went to Nokomis. It's just
right.
down the street.
Right. Yeah, good. Abby.
I'm not really seeing any surprises, really. But behind the scenes, kind of, some of the parents and stuff, a lot with the Smarter Balance test, just have some complaints and stuff. So it's just surprising that there's so many complaints. But
well, then to me, that's sort of surprising. So there've been a lot of complaints.
Well, not just with Smarter Balance, but with just in general, how much the teachers have to deal with does surprise me.
Yeah, interesting. Oh, okay. And Corey.
Surprises. I'm actually surprised that my teacher has given me a lot to do. So which is a good surprise, but I'm a little whew, there's just a lot. So it's almost it's almost like having another class and homework and all lesson planning and all sorts of stuff. So that's a little surprising, good surprising. I'm learning, I really have to I have to be super strict about balancing my time because I have very limited time. So, but that's a good lesson. And kids are kind of I don't know if it's the time of year. It's the end of the second trimester and kids are grumpy. I was in there 2 days last week and I was in there today and oh boy, or time change. I don't know, man, but even she was wow, they were really good today.
Corey, I'm glad you brought that up because those of you who were in the classroom this week probably noticed some of the same thing because talk about grumpy. And this time change has been earlier. And in my experience as a teacher, this has been one of the worst, this was one of the worst weeks of the whole year because of time change. So I'm not surprised, Corey. Thanks for bringing that up.
That makes me feel good. I'm okay, is it me? It's not me then. It's
no, absolutely not you. And you know what? All that work is a good precursor for student teaching.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's what she said, and I was you're right. So, yeah, it's really good practice for me.
Great practice. Yep. How about you, Zach?
Not a whole lot of surprises. A lot of my teachers have been stressing out about the Smarter Balance test because they have a specific test schedule that they have to follow. And they had to create their new schedule for the week. So that kind of really messed up their scheduling, because now they're like with their entire class for the entire week instead of having all of their classes. Another thing that I didn't actually witness, but there was a fight in the school today in my mentor teacher's room when we were in our conference room during her planning period. So it was interesting to see how like that was dealt with. So that was kind of cool.
Was it dealt with well?
Yeah, so the teacher that was supervising the study hall in her room came and got another teacher, and then all the students were individually brought down to the office one at a time, and then they were all sent home. So I don't know what's going to come from that, but it was interesting.
Very, yes. And from reading your work recently, you've had some interesting experiences that you've observed in management, I've noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll let you share more a little later on there. I want to call your attention back to the agenda because at this time, and we're about right on time. Pam Kibble was supposed to be here and be on. Hopefully, she'll be viewing the recording later.
I'm here.
Oh, she is. How'd you
I
get
am here.
How'd you get on, Pam?
I just found it on.
Do you realize that you're on the agenda right now?
No.
Yeah, we've just done a little reconnecting here and talked about surprises that they've had in the field since we've last met. But Pam, if you'd like to, would you tell us about the new things that are happening with TK20 for EDG semester?
I guess I should have known that I would be doing that. Well, one of the things, folks, that we're going to be doing as a pilot for the rest of this semester is entering any professional development opportunity that you might have had over the course of this semester that's above and beyond your regular expectations. I don't know if I spoke with you about this before or not, but we're really working hard to have your whole program here in the college really look like what it would be like in a professional position. If you were in a school where you were expected to continue to grow, you would be expected to participate in other professional development above and beyond just the general classroom teaching piece. So what we hope to do here in the college is help mimic that and get you ready for that kind of an experience, and also to help fill in any gaps that you might have. For example, we haven't given you a lot of information about Smarter Balanced yet. I heard that discussed a few minutes ago. That's something that's new for everybody. Something that's new for our instructors to learn about as well. And I did invite some of you, and I know that some of you, I don't know if anyone in your class, Chris, took advantage of it or not, but you were invited to attend a Smarter Balance Community Forum last week. I believe it was last week, maybe the week before, that Old Town in Orono did. And that could be counted as a professional development opportunity. And what we're doing is having you enter this into TK20. So as you learn about how to enter TK20 and find that information on there, you'll be going into the site and entering that event. If you attended that, you would enter Smarter Balanced Community Forum and the date. And you would also be entering information like which class are you in? So you would enter EDG400. Also, what did you learn that you could apply to your, and how can you apply that to your teaching in the future? So that would be sort of a narrative of 2-3 paragraphs or so. It would also ask you, and there would be buttons that you would click on. It would ask you, which of these standards, which of the 11 standards do you think this addressed? And certainly it would address the piece on assessment. Another one might be the piece on professional responsibility. It will also ask you to determine, based on your own judgment, which of the diversity areas do you think it addressed, if any? And then it would ask you to upload something that proved that you were at that session. So for example, those who did attend the Smarter Balance session received a certificate of attendance. So they scanned and uploaded that to the TK20. And then you just save it. That way you're keeping a record of all of your professional development opportunities so that at the end of your career here, you can print that off. And that's a record that you can use as you create your resumes and have your interviews. I'm trying to think. The other piece is with your field experience. So this keeps track of both your professional development opportunities you attend and also your field experiences. Now, your field experience for EDG400 is what you're doing right now through EDG400 once a week out in the field, or including your full week at the end of March during Education Week. So you would enter that as a field experience. So there are two buttons in there. One's for professional development and one is for field experience. So you'd enter what you're doing in the field as a field experience. It's connected to your coursework, but that's okay. We need to keep records of that. And you do the same kind of things. What have you learned from your field experience? And I think Chris, you have a prompt that you want them to use for the field experience that we agreed upon, and you can share that with them. And then again, you would highlight, note which standards were addressed through that field experience, which diversity areas were addressed, and Chris will tell you what has to be uploaded as documentation. So that's for the field experience piece. But what we're hoping is that you're going to upload at least one professional development opportunity between now and the end of the semester. If you've already attended one that you'd like to run by Chris to approve, you might be able to upload that as well. So we're asking you to do at least one, maybe two if you've attended more. Chris, anything else you can think of that I need to mention?
No, and you know what, I can talk to them on the 24th when I see them about, more about what you just passed by them. But I don't want everybody to panic because
right.
On March 24th, right at 4 o'clock, Jared Beal is going to be at our seminar. We also might be joined by another class. We might be joined by Doreen Page's class. So there might be more of us. But Jared Beal is the TK20 person at the help desk, and he's the one that is going to be able to answer any of your questions and help you with all that information that Pam just told you about. So
I would also add, if you haven't talked about it yet, one of the things that you're doing at the end of this semester is you're going into TK20 and assessing your dispositions. You're doing a self-assessment, and Chris will be assessing them as well. So that's something that Jared can talk to you about as well if he hasn't done that already.
Right, and he hasn't, and he will, yes.
Okay.
Schedule.
So what I don't want you to do is panic, as Chris said. This is a pilot for this professional development and field experience piece. It's a pilot this semester for EDG400 and CHF304, as well as for the student teaching folks. They have particular professional development pieces that they have to put in. Whereas it's a little more flexible for you, and we're not expecting as many entries. So it's just, this is, as I said, it's our pilot, and we'll ask you at the end for any suggestions. How did it go? What did you think? So that we can improve it for next semester.
Great, Pam. Are there any questions for Pam or for me at this point about this piece or so far?
Just like folks in the field, we're always looking to improve upon what we're doing to make it a better program and to help you be more and more prepared as you enter the field. So, any feedback you can give us toward the end would be great.
Okay. Okay, then let's shift to assignment 6. Hopefully you were able to have those in front of you or pull those up. I know I have them online from you, and I haven't looked at them yet, but I will be doing that because that was the assignment that was due. So think about from assignment 6, there was a chapter that was online from the 400 folder that you were to look at. Think about that. And I'm going to ask you again in order. And again, you can say pass if you want. Okay. But I'm going to ask you in order any ideas that you gained from reading that chapter. It was chapter 8 in K through 12 classroom teaching. Think about that for a second. I'm going to ask you, Jenna, to go first.
All right, hold on 1 second.
Jenna?
Oh, hold on.
Okay.
Chris, I'm going to leave the meeting at this point. I've got another one.
Okay.
But thank you for inviting me.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for your information. Thanks, Pam. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, can I go? Want me to go ahead?
Okay, yes. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't really learn anything surprising or new. A lot of it was stuff we've been talking about in this class and my other methods classes. I can't really think of anything new I learned.
I know that you go pretty heavy on assessment. Well, you take an assessment class, right?
Yeah, we've all taken an assessment class.
Okay, so you're saying just some things that you already knew, right?
Yeah, a lot of review.
Okay. All right, Caitlin, how about you?
I agree with that. We have taken an entire course on assessment, plus like our class 204 last semester with Tim focused a lot on assessment as well.
Uh-huh.
So I felt like a lot of it was just review. I mean, good review, but stuff that we've definitely or should have seen before.
Right, good. Okay, but that's good for me to know too. That's very good for me to know. Nicole, how about you?
I kind of feel similar. Like, I think a lot of it is stuff that I'm kind of familiar with. I'm looking over my notes right now to see what I jotted down from that chapter. But I don't know. I think it's pretty much just stuff that, I mean, it's good to know, definitely, but it felt like stuff that was familiar with me already.
Okay. Abby?
There was nothing really new that I saw, but the one thing that I don't see a lot was there was a bit on working as a team to assess, so like working with your team teachers, which I hadn't seen in other assessment books or anything. So that was just the only thing that stuck out to me.
Well, you know what, too, Abby, that's good to bring out because you're in a situation where you work and your team works together. And
I think that's probably why it did stick out, was because I was seeing it so much.
Right. Good to know. And everybody else also, because you might be in a situation just like that sometime. Thanks, Abby. Corey, how about you?
Yeah, similar. I guess I liked the part of what I wrote about was including students as assessment partners. That was kind of a big thing that part of my philosophy and part of what I took away was the emphasis on that. So
Right.
that was kind of my big thing from that chapter.
Thank you, Corey. And one of the things that I want everybody to understand is that, and it perhaps the terminology isn't new to you, but when you're talking about students taking part in the assessment process, you're talking probably about formative assessment. So just understand that. Corey, have you seen formative assessment?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I've seen both. I've actually seen standardized testing. I was there one day when they did the NAEP or the NEEP. I'm not sure how you say it.
Right.
Which they didn't have a choice about taking. They were a school that was selected to take it. So that was interesting to watch because they were freaked out. The kids were freaked out because they didn't know what to expect because they're just given a random test and they don't know whether it'll be math or science or so that was actually really interesting to watch, and I think it was frustrating for them, for the teacher, And then I see she does a lot of like, quick check-in type things and graphic organizers, things like that. So I see a lot of different kinds. I've seen a math like unit test, pre-tests. So lots of different kinds, really.
Nice. Just another aside about Nate.
Sorry. My dog's barking.
Nate testing has been going on in the state and nationally for years and years and years. And given
Okay, hold on.
But just a piece of information that you need to know, maybe not, is that the data that's collected by Nate has been used extensively in the Smarter Balanced research and development program. So just so you know that. So if you happen to be in a school that does Nate testing, you know what they use that information for.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, okay, let's see. Corey and Zach.
I didn't know, over the reading, I didn't see anything that I hadn't really been familiar with. It's all stuff that I've learned from either Ed Assessment or EDG400. It was really nice to review, though. It gave me some ideas for what I wanted to do for my lesson plans, so that was really nice.
Yeah, and again, a good point, Zach. Even for me, when I look over a chapter like this, it just says to me, oh yeah, I know that, or I remember that, and that's an okay thing to do, even after 40-something years. Okay, going on with the agenda, what I'd like you to do is to share your checklist, if you can, if you have those in front of you, that you've created. And I put in bullet points these as two separate bullet points, but I'd like you to do them together. So share your checklist and tell us what you thought were the two most important assessment strategies within that checklist or web that you did. Okay, so back to you, Jenna. That for us.
I emailed you about how I assignment 6 because I hadn't talked to my teacher until today. So I didn't get to work on it until just today. So.
Okay. So what you're saying is you're still developing that.
Yeah, because she just emailed me back now about what lesson I can teach, so I haven't worked on that yet.
Okay. All right. Off the top of your head, Jenna, what would you say is the most important piece of assessment or assessment strategy that you've seen in your placement?
Can you say that one more time? It's kind of hard to hear you.
What do you think is the most widely used assessment strategy that you've seen in your field placement this semester?
They do a lot of formal assessment in my classroom. They do like for math, for example, they'll do a whole unit on math, and then at the end of the unit, they'll do a formal test that reviews all of the math they've learned. And then sort of the same thing for reading. They have like reading and writing packets that they complete through a whole unit. And then they do a formal test at the end. It's like a multiple choice test. And they just started working on doing constructive responses. That's what they've been working a lot on, and short answer questions. And my teacher's really been struggling with getting students to be able to answer constructive response questions. It's really hard for third graders. So that's what I've seen so far.
Yeah, because they want to write short answers.
Yeah, and they're not quite sure about how to write full sentences yet, so they're struggling.
Good. Okay, Caitlin, how about you?
Well, so you want us to talk about the ones we bolded and the ones we've seen? Is that?
If you can, just give a rundown of what the checklist was and then the two most important for you.
Yeah, well, I feel like my checklist is going to be about the same as everyone. It has like the major points on it, but the ones I found most important were about keeping the balance between the formative and summative assessments. And then another one I thought was really important is informing the students of how you're going to be grading them in advance. That was one that I've seen in my classroom a ton, and I thought was just super important because the students, especially I'm in a grade 6, so they're old enough to understand what they're supposed to do. So I think it's, huge to have it laid out. Like my mentor teacher writes it out on the board almost every time like something new is expected of them. so that there's no question. The students know what they need to do, know what's expected of them. And I just think that's really important.
Nice, thanks. I'm just going to stop. Any questions or comments about anything so far? We're talking about assessment. Anything? So Nicole, how about you?
Okay. My checklist. Let me pull it up. Okay. The first one was use continual seamless formative assessments. And that's one of the ones that I bolded because, am I echoing or is it only me that hears me echoing?
No, you're echoing.
Oh, that's so annoying. Okay. Anyways, use continual seamless formative assessments because I feel like that's one of the most important ways to gauge how students are doing. I mean, summative assessments are important, but I think formative assessments are that's what really allows you to make decisions in the moment. So that is one of the ones that I bolded. And then my second one is include authentic performance tasks as part of assessment, which I haven't really seen in my classroom, but I would kind of like to. I mean, they write reports and stuff, but I don't really consider that authentic necessarily. So I'd like to see examples of that. And then use rubrics when appropriate is my third one. I think that's really important, but that's not one of the ones that I bolded, actually. But my fourth one is base grade on a variety of assessments. My fifth one is align assessments with learning targets. And then my sixth one is use what is learned from assessments to make instructional decisions, which is the other one that I bolded, because if you're not using the information that you get from assessments, there's really kind of no point in assessing. I mean, there are other reasons, but that's like the big reason to assess.
And it's very much what authentic assessment is.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Nicole. Abby, how about you?
So the 6 strategies that I pulled, I kind of broadened them and then had bullet points within them. But I had formative assessment, summative assessment, assessing for the standards, standardized tests, working as a team to assess, and computer-based assessment were the 6 big things I took. But the 2 most important I thought were formative assessment and assessing for the standards. Not necessarily teaching to the standards, but making sure that the students know, what Caitlin said, what's expected of them, and that every standard or learning target that you put out there ends up getting assessed at some point, so it's not just floating out there. Something interesting I said too is that teachers should look at the national and state standards and standardized tests and stuff, and then hone in on their school specific standards. So that was it for assessing on the standards. And then for formative assessment, I said that it's just a huge thing that we do all the time and don't even notice it. When we're observing students, it's formative assessment, and that it can occur during or before instruction, and it just provides the teacher with information about the student's progress and helps shape their instruction. So that was it.
Yep, that's good, Abby. Thank you. Corey.
It's some similar things. My one that I bolded, I talked about before about including students as assessment partners, and just how that can help students become more effective self-evaluators and helps them become more individually motivated, and having assessment be done with students instead of something that's done to them. So that was my first one I bolded. And then the second one I said was using what you learn from assessing your students in order to enable more student success. So using assessment as a tool to guide your instruction, and not just as an end result. and sort of like what you were saying, Abby, focus on learning goals, unwrapping the standards, things like that. So
good, which again makes the assessment authentic. All those
Exactly.
that you said, yes. And Zach.
So I did this a little differently than everyone else. I wrote down types of assessments. So
You know what? Okay. Go ahead. What'd you write down?
I had traditional tests, like written tests, interviews, drawings and diagrams, attitude surveys, portfolios, and journals.
Okay.
The two that I bolded were traditional tests and journals. The reason why I bolded traditional tests was just because in math, I think it's easier for the students to test on a traditional test rather than like an interview or something like that. I think it will help the students practice their skills if they're writing it down. In journals, I bolded that because of something that my teacher does in her English class, which I also thought that you could bring into other subjects. What she has them do is daily pages, and I thought that a teacher could kind of get like an informal assessment on what students thought of the lesson plan or something like that through what they write in their journals, so the teacher could have the students write their experience for that lesson plan for that day, and it would give the teacher something to reflect on. So I thought that was pretty cool. So those are the two that I bolded.
Good, thanks. And you know what, talking about math, and from what I've experienced with Herman Elementary and Herman Middle School, is that they do a lot of math work and journaling work, and that's a good thing. So great. Okay, just now the next part is asking, I'm going to ask you what you see your mentor teacher using for assessment. But I'm going to qualify that and say, what do you see your mentor teacher using effectively? And we'll just do it as a quick whip around. And that just means just give me a quick answer, okay? Jenna.
So I kind of talked about that before when I last talked. There's a lot of formal assessment, multiple choice. They also do a lot of informal assessment before they do lessons, where the teacher just does a quick recap of what they learned last time to make sure they're ready to move on to the next step. She'll just ask students questions until they know what's happening.
Perfect. Okay, Caitlin?
I see a lot of formative assessment, as we talked about before. My teacher's almost always doing some sort of, is it a packet or questions or something, and I think that it gets the students engaged and make sure that they're staying on topic, because she does it at various times throughout the lesson, depending on what they're doing. So
perfect. Nicole?
I've seen my teacher use some formative assessment effectively. Like, I think the first day that I was there, she had the little like green, yellow, red cards so that she could see how they were doing. If they were doing fine, they'd put the green card on top, and if they needed help, they'd put the red card on top. That was actually the only time I saw her use them. Like, I thought it was a really good idea, but I haven't seen her use them much since then. So, I think that's a great idea if she uses them.
Yeah, interesting. Huh. Interesting. Abby?
I've seen a lot of formative but informal assessments. So the slates, she uses those all the time with like morning work. The reflection at the end of lessons, like the 1, 2, 3, 4, they give like 1, 2, 3, 4 on their understanding. And then the other big thing that the school does is pre-tests, post-tests, and for every like unit, the students have to show proficiency at 3 different points. So they're always being informally assessed, and like on a pre-test, if they perform poorly on one of the standards, like if they get below a 3, they have to meet with Miss Cole like during the independent work. Like, she'll call up groups constantly. She's working with them to become like master that skill. So that's the major things that I see going on.
Good. And Zach?
In my classroom, she does a lot of formative assessments, just because that's really the only thing that she gives grades on for the report cards, which I found interesting. walks around the room and does some informal assessments as well, just like making sure the students are okay with what they're doing. So this is probably like the two things that I see most of in my classroom.
Good. Okay. Super. At this point, are there any questions that anybody has for anybody?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm just sorry. I'm just so confused because I don't get it. Like, I went to my mentor teacher last week and I was talking to her about Education Week and what I would actually be teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't even know what she's going to be teaching, like, the beginning of next week, let alone what she's going to be doing or wants me to plan a lesson on. So I still haven't done anything for that lesson, or like I think it was task 3 of assignment 6 I didn't do because I haven't taught my lesson yet.
Right.
And I'm just confused as to if I'm just like, am I reading into these all wrong? Or I don't know.
Well,
I'm just so confused.
Well, how can you be? Because, like you said, she hasn't told you you're going to be doing it during Education Week. So what I'm saying is you have to go with the flow.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
I just wanted to make sure it's okay that I haven't done like task 3 of that yet, or like.
And it is, Caitlin. You just have to, just keep letting me know that you are. And
yeah.
And I understand.
Because I have the idea of what I'd be teaching, but she doesn't know specifically until probably like 3 days out.
Right.
So.
Okay.
Caitlin, can I say something to you?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to change all of my plans. So you're not alone. I originally had a science lesson plan that I had done for that I was going to do, but because of like the way they share, because they sort of team teach, but they kind of don't. So what I had all planned out is going to have to change. So she was like, actually, can you design a writing unit for me? So now I'm going to have to redo assignment 5 based on what I do as a writing unit. So it's going to be, I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to do that. And then just adjust as I go, I guess. Cause I don't know what else am I going to do.
I didn't want to make up assignment. Like, I didn't want to just like make up what assignment 5. I would rather wait, know what I'm going to make it on and hand it in a little later. And I just want to make sure that's fine because I feel like I'm behind.
Caitlin,
That's the same boat I'm in, so.
Okay.
Yes, it is. Yes, and it's good thinking. It's the best thing to do also. You're making what you're doing authentic. You're not making it up, so it's fine. Yeah. Anything else? Okay, the next 2 things on the agenda have to do with, one is the assessment that we created for the lesson, and what I'm hearing is some people haven't totally done that, so it's okay. But if you have, you can share that. And the other part is to read your assessment philosophy. So if you, in the next minute, would get that prepared and ready for us. Jenna, you're going to be up front, but I'm going to wait just a little while for everybody to get that. Or do you have any?
I'm just going to grab my computer charger. Can we wait like 2 seconds?
Yep. Actually, I'm going to do the same thing.
Okay. All right. I wish I had some background elevator music to play for you. There's a way to share the screen here, and I'm trying to work on that today, but I haven't quite figured that out. So perhaps if we do this again, I'll have some other information that I'll be able to show you in times like this.
I see a share screen button on the bottom. A little bar thing.
That's my husband being pain. I thought it would be the kids being pain. No, it's the husband.
I would have assumed the husband. I'm sorry.
I know, right?
Sorry, Zach.
Does everybody realize there is a chat on this that you can use? Has everybody seen or can please see it now? You can ask and answer questions on the chat. Try that if you like.
Oh my golly.
Can you see that?
I see it.
I see it.
I see it.
Yes.
You can use that when you want.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. Jenna, how you doing?
Good. I'm ready to go.
Are you ready? All right, go, Jenna.
So I'm kind of in the same boat as the people who haven't been able to write their lesson plan, but my teacher just actually emailed me today telling me what I can write it on. And I'm going to teach it on the first Monday of Education Week, and she wants me to do a fraction introduction math lesson. So I think what I'm going to do is, since she has to do it's like they do everyday math, so she has certain math tests she has to give the students.
Yeah.
For my assessment, I think I'm going to do an informal exit slip for the end of the math class that I teach, where I teach the introduction to fractions, just to ask students one thing that they learned and what they can tell me about fractions so far.
Now, will you do that orally or have them do it in a written way?
I think I'm going to have them write it down on a note card. I might bring note cards for the students.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. Okay, are you ready to read your assessment philosophy?
Yep.
Go, Jenna.
Okay. I want every child I teach to be able to have the best education possible. I want them to enjoy learning and take away things that they will be able to use later in life and remember. I will have clear goals and objectives for my students. I will provide them with both formative and informal assessments. Students will understand what is expected of them and have the ability to meet the goals and objectives that I set forth for them. Activities and learning experiences will help students work towards goals and objectives. All learning will be beneficial to students, and there will not be excess busy work. I will be sure to provide various assessments to make sure that all students have a fair chance to show me what they have learned. I will also prepare students to be able to take standardized tests with ease. Students will know how to take the test and understand the structure of the test. Students will feel comfortable with assessment in my classroom, and they will feel prepared and ready for whatever may come their way in the future.
Good, Jenna.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank
Is
you.
anyone else having problems hearing this?
Yeah, it kind of sounds weird.
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought you faded out at the end there. That's why there was a delay there. I think,
Oops, sorry. Can you hear me now?
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions for Jenna? Any comments? Questions?
Good job, Jenna.
Thanks.
Nice job. Okay. All right, Caitlin.
Well, can I just ask a question too first?
Yeah.
I feel like I wrote mine. I mean, I didn't use a lot of I statements. It was more of like broad, like, as a teacher. Is that okay? Or as like an educator, or are they supposed to be like, I will do this, I will do that?
Not necessarily.
Because if it's supposed to be, I wrote it completely wrong.
No, I'm sure you didn't. You go ahead and read it because
Okay.
We had the same issues as this last week too. We were like all concerned because we all wrote it separate ways.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's okay, right? You got that message. Go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead, Caitlin.
So it says, classrooms are diverse ecosystems that are students unique in both the way they learn and how they show their knowledge. As an educator, you must be able to assess a student's learning. You must be able to assess student learning in a variety of ways. From the perspective of the teacher, assessments not only show student learning, but can also give insight into how well you are teaching the material. Teachers should use informal, formative assessment throughout the lesson to ensure the student's understanding prior to moving on to harder material. The summative assessments, the teacher will be able to grasp students. Hold on, sorry, I messed up. The teacher will be able to see if the students grasp instructional objectives for the lesson before building on it further. Creating a balance between the formative and summative assessments within a classroom will help students no matter what type of learner become successful. From the perspective of the students, assessments can be a tool used to gauge one's personal knowledge and growth. It is crucial students think of their own understanding and how they process information in order to be able to grow as a student. I believe there should be an equal balance between the type of assessments used within the classroom. Throughout a lesson, students should sorry, I'm really bad at reading out loud. Throughout a lesson, the teacher should use assessments to make sure that the students are gaining what they want from the lesson. In doing this, you can make changes throughout the lesson that will better suit your students' needs. When deciding how to assess students, you must look at each individual and how they test. Every student tests differently. It is important to make assessments as diverse as the students you are teaching. Assessments should and can range from something as simple as a conversation with a student about a particular topic to a poster or graphic organizer. By using a variety of means to assess, you will be giving the students a better opportunity to show their knowledge. And then it's just assessments when used correctly are a tool that both the teacher and student can benefit from.
You know what, Caitlin?
I couldn't hear what you said, but it sounded like a compliment.
You were criticizing and saying that it wasn't I will, but it sounded like you had a balance in there. And did everybody hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was fun. Okay. I want everybody to understand that when you are at the point where you'd be doing the pamphlet, the All About Me pamphlet that comes up at the end of this, I can't remember what it is, assignment 8 or 9, that you might want to use your assessment philosophy and you might want to shorten it even more. So just be thinking about that or summarize it in some way. So let's see. Nicole.
Okay, so do you want me to start with the assessment that I created?
Right, just briefly. Sure.
Okay. My mentor teacher suggested doing a pre-assessment and said that she uses pre-assessments a lot. So I just did a really short written pre-assessment just to test their knowledge of my lessons on figurative language. So it's just to test their knowledge on figurative language, and I would use that same thing again as the post-test, which she suggested. But I basically just did kind of the same tasks that I have in my lesson, but I just did it like really briefly on a piece of paper. So they answer like 4 questions, and it's just to test their knowledge ahead of time. But I thought it was a good idea when she mentioned doing a pre-assessment, because then you kind of have an idea of where the students are.
And how will the students do the pre-test? You said written, right?
Yes. I'm sorry, what was the question?
You said they will write the answer?
They'll write it, yeah. So like I have a multiple choice, and I have a few true-false questions, and then I have 2 very short constructed response questions. But it's basically the same things that I'm asking them to do during the lesson, but it's like all in one and like different examples.
That's excellent. And then you'll do the post-test using the same. So they'll see what Right. So it makes your assessment very authentic. Okay. And your philosophy.
Okay. Let me pull that up. So, assessment, when used correctly, will be one of the most important tools in my teaching toolbox. But what does using assessment correctly mean? It means that for every assessment used, I will have a clearly defined purpose for using it. Assessments are not just tests that are handed out so that I can assign my students a grade. Every assessment that I give will be designed to provide me with information about my students' learning progress so that I will be able to use that information to plan my next instructional move. Because my purpose for assessment is to gauge how well my students are understanding and retaining the material that I teach, the assessments that I use will be more than just traditional pencil and paper or computer tests and the mandatory standardized tests. Summative tests like these will have their place, but I will use formative assessments far more often. These formative tests will include informal observations of student work and checks for understanding through questioning and discussion. These types of informal assessments will be used daily so that I can immediately change the course of instruction when necessary. Validity will be an essential component of my assessments. In order to be fair, I will make sure my tests cover the content that I have addressed during instruction, especially the content that I've emphasized as most important. My students will know that I am not going to hit them with surprise questions or try to trick them in any way, but that I will do my best to teach them the content that I think is essential and that I plan to assess them on. I will also ensure that they are familiar with the assessment types that I will be using, so that the assessments will be a true test of their knowledge and not on their familiarity or lack of familiarity with the test type. I will make sure that students who may be at an unfair advantage during assessments, such as students with special needs or English language learners, are given the accommodations they need to be tested fairly. One final consideration that I must give my assessments is ensuring that I assess my students' understanding in its entirety, not just their factual knowledge. I will need to provide my students with assessments that give me information about their depth of understanding. To do this, I will design items that assess their higher order thinking skills. I will also use a variety of assessment formats, including authentic performance tasks and portfolios, so that my students can show their knowledge through explaining and doing as well as through recall. No matter what type of assessments I use, the point of all my assessments will be to gain a clear understanding of how my students are absorbing what I teach, as well as where exactly they're struggling, so that I can make changes to my instructional program and my teaching strategies as needed. I will also be transparent about the assessment process by clearly communicating to my students both my expectations for assessments by using rubrics when possible, and the assessment results by giving specific feedback, so that my students are able to take part in the assessment process for themselves. As I use assessments to improve my students' learning and teach them to use assessments to monitor their own learning, I will be able to say with confidence that my assessments really do serve a purpose.
Very nice. Yeah. All right. Thanks. Very good. I think, if I recall right, Nicole, you also have you're an English major, right?
I was an English major.
You were an English major. Yeah, it's just.
Yeah, my concentration's English now.
Yeah, I thought so. She structures her writing very well. Yes. Not that everybody else doesn't, but Nicole does a good job. Okay. Thanks, Nicole. And Abby.
So I actually taught my lesson today. So I did my assessment about that. So most of the assessments during my lesson were just observations. It was a fairly new topic, so I felt like it was inappropriate to do a summative assessment. I wrote that I do wish that I would have found a more unique way to incorporate some formal assessment in there, like some sort of an exit slip or something, or a worksheet that they filled out, which my teacher and I actually talked about after I taught. I did have them do a reflection on the learning targets using their rating scale of 1 to 4. And I said some positives of using this approach was that it can help the teacher adjust her pacing of the lesson. She can address students that are having difficulty working with others, or if materials are being used inappropriately. So like these sorts of observations can help with that. And I said one negative about this approach is that the teacher won't be provided with anything concrete to judge her students' understanding level. But I said that overall I thought that the approach that I used today, or the approaches I used today, were useful for a lot of lessons, but could be adjusted and improved upon. And then my philosophy, in my opinion, assessment should be used as a way for teachers to gauge their own instruction, as well as a way for students to look at their processes of learning. There are many different ways for us to assess students apart from the typical paper and pencil tests we most commonly hear about. Assessments can be done informally as well as formally, and formatively as well as summative. Formative assessment includes strategies that happen during instruction and that can help the teacher adjust her approach to particular concepts. Summative assessment usually happens at the end of units or lessons and measures the post-instructional performance to help teachers make instruction the following day. Students should be constantly observed informally, but it is crucial that the teacher reflects at the end of these kinds of formative assessments so that she can have a record of the things she sees to provide the appropriate feedback. Feedback should be as specific as possible without much personal opinion, which can cause students to become unmotivated. By providing the best possible feedback, students become a part of the teacher's assessment practices and therefore can be responsible for their own progress. Along with the teacher reflecting, students should be reflecting on what they are learning consistently. This can be done in the form of exit tickets or even a hand signal to show the teacher what the students are thinking about the lesson, difficult points, easy points, and many other things. Another important way to involve students in your assessment practices is by making them aware of the standards they will be assessed on. Classrooms should have the standards and learning targets clearly visible for students, and they should be responsible for reflecting on the standards to make sure they were adequately addressed during the lesson. This can provide teachers with feedback on areas of the lesson that may need to be improved or touched upon during the following day. Something I look forward to implementing is teamwork in regards to assessment. Teachers that work on are able to teach students in multiple ways through the sharing of teaching strategies. Team teachers should regularly discuss student assessment data to help them modify their assessment strategies. If the team decides on a formative strategy to use consistently throughout the year, students will know what to expect regardless of which classroom they are stepping into if they switch teachers for different subjects. Team teaching can also help when developing learning targets to focus particular units around. Overall, I feel assessment strategies should be used many times during instruction so that students and teachers are constantly reflecting on their practices and getting feedback for improvement.
Oh, excuse me. Abby, how appropriate that you got to teach your lesson and do the assessment today, back and do the reflection. Yes. Which everybody, if you haven't taught the lesson with the assessment, that's just what you'll be doing also. Any questions about that? Corey, ready?
I am. I have assessments for the lesson that I designed that I'm not going to use, but I can share what I was going to do. I'm going to have to come up with some new ones, but that's fine. I took one of my science lesson plans and adapted it, and part of their assessments were going to be a graphic organizer. As they went through stations, they were going to record their observations as they did experiments. There was a fishbowl think aloud, which so they could share ideas and I could check for understanding. There was going to be group discussion, group work was part of it, teacher observation, and then they were going to fill out a POMS ticket at the end of the lesson so I could check their points of most significance. So that was for that lesson, but anyway, I'm going to make a new one. So
Scrap for now, but save it because
okay.
yes, I'm sure you'll have to use it another time.
Okay. And then my philosophy, I'm kind of wordy. I tend to run on at the mouth, if anybody has noticed. So I'm going to read. I have it in my hand, and it's easier for me to read it that way. My philosophy of assessment is centered around and driven by the needs of my students first and foremost. A constructivist classroom environment is what I aim for in my teaching, and my philosophy is geared towards that ideal. It is important to me that assessments are a vital component of my teaching, but that these assessments take forms other than the traditional paper and pencil summative assessment. I want my assessments to be directly tailored to learning goals and objectives and guided by the standards. In my classroom, I aim to provide as many formative assessments as possible for a rich variety of learning experiences. Unpacking the standards for learning is key to making sure that every assessment is valid and has a purpose. Sorry, my cat is driving me crazy.
Okay, my dog is on me right now.
Like, cat is like trying to, oh, goodness gracious. All right. It is my goal to choose assessment strategies that engage students of all learning styles. Students will be exposed to both informal and formal means of assessment, including formative and summative. I believe that summative assessments have a place in learning, but should not be the main way of assessing student learning. Exposing students to many different ways of assessment is a crucial component of this philosophy. A partnership between students and teacher is vital, and I intend to include my students as assessment partners. This enables students to become more effective self-evaluators, leads to individual motivation by students, and provides students a chance to display ownership over their own learning experiences. Part of assessment in my classroom will involve students setting their own goals for learning and evaluating themselves in hopes of deepening their critical thinking skills and allowing them to see the value in what they are accomplishing. Another major goal of this philosophy is that of my own learning from my assessment of students and using that knowledge to inform instruction and enable greater student success. Assessments should be a tool to guide instruction and not just an end result. By using assessment as a guide for my teaching, I can continuously improve my instruction and maintain the focus on our learning goals and objectives. In my classroom, I would like to use progress monitoring assessing during instruction to help guide my instruction and show me when and where to make adjustments. I will use techniques like error pattern analysis to diagnose and correct mistakes in order to help students hone in on what may lie underneath any misunderstandings. I'm striving to be a teacher that is in tune with her students' needs as learners and as people. I want to have assessment strategies that set my students up for the best possible success and that are seamlessly integrated as much as possible. It's important that my assessments are curriculum and standards based in order to appropriately evaluate content knowledge, but that they are also based on the needs of the learners in my classroom. I'd like to impart the idea to my students that assessment is just one part of learning, but is also very valuable. Finally, it is my hope that students will understand the purpose behind every assessment technique used and will feel like active participants in their learning. The end.
And with a little comic relief in the middle by the cat. Good. Okay, nice. Any comments, questions, anything? Then Corey.
Zach.
Yes. Zach.
Okay, for my assessment, I just did a small exit ticket because the class isn't very long, so we're not going to go over a lot of material. It's just a 5-question little piece of paper that would be handed out to them, and when they finished, they would hand it to the teacher and then exit the room. The first 4 problems would be adding and subtracting fractions. And then the 5th question would be a question where they have to explain the process of how they add and subtract fractions. That way the teacher can see that they know how to do the work through 1 through 4, and they also know the proper steps to take by listing them out for question number 5. Good. Let's see, my educational or my philosophy of assessment, I can read that now.
Yeah.
So in my eyes, assessments are important not only so the teacher has something to grade for the students, but also because using assessment, teachers can monitor their students' learning and make sure that the students are ready to move on to the next objective. Formative assessments are really important for the teacher's knowledge of student progress because it allows the teacher to see how the student is progressing throughout the chapter rather than to see how well they know everything at the end of the chapter through a summative assessment. In my classroom, I really enjoy exit tickets because I believe it gives the teacher a great idea on which students grasp the lessons that was taught that day. Exit tickets can be either formal or informal assessments. I typically like to have the students solve problems that cover the same material taught earlier in the class period, which would be more on the formal side. These tickets would not receive a grade, which would make them informal in my eyes, but the fact that they are writing work out instead of just having a conversation, I thought it was kind of in between. Then I go on to journaling is another form of assessment that I would have my students engage in. This type of assessment would be very informal. What I would have the students do is write in their math notebook about the lesson they were taught that day. Students should feel free to write what they thought about the lesson, whether it was easy to understand for them or if it was hard to engage. Also in their journal, this would be an appropriate time for the students to voice their concerns about what they did not understand. By having the students use journaling as a form of assessment is very beneficial for the teacher because it really allows them to see what the student knows in regards to comprehension of the subject. Journaling would be used in math class whenever there was free time or whenever I specifically asked them to write in their journals, like at the end of a class period. For a more summative assessment, I would use a traditional test. I feel as though a traditional test is pretty standard when talking about summative assessments that cover the material from several chapters or a whole book. This test for me would be a formal assessment and would receive a grade that would go into the grade book. A traditional test will give the students the opportunity to show their work and prove to the teacher that they understand the material that they were taught. There are many different types of assessments that can be very beneficial. I feel as though certain types of assessment would be more beneficial in a specific content area, such as portfolios in English class and labs in a science class. A teacher should use both informal and formal assessments with their students along with formative and summative assessments. Formative assessments are very beneficial for the teacher because it allows them to see student comprehension and growth, while summative assessments are important too and will be able to tell the teacher if the student was able to retain all the information from the chapter or the book.
Nice. Very good. Just a comment in general that I've noticed after hearing all the assessments out loud is that I can hear the passion and that a lot of you have, even by writing about the assessment. But not only that, it's coming from authentic, what you've been doing in the classroom, and it's really coming through, and it really sounds good. So, big clap for everybody. Yes. Okay. Okay, switching again. But before we do, any comments or questions? Anything? So we're going to switch to what's due for next time, which is assignment 7. And if you would pull up that cover sheet or profile cover sheet for assignment 7, which is the philosophy of education. Now, this one is going to be based on the philosophy that you've already written in EDG400. Hopefully you have that. We talked about that in the first seminar, so you can use that philosophy. Lots of things may have changed, and that's good, actually. And if they have, please, you are welcome to revise that. What I'm thinking is, and what I know from other semesters, is that most students have written either a page or 2 or 3. What I'm going to ask you to do is to revise that writing down to 1 concise page. It's very important. There's a good model, there's a good example, or a couple of examples in the folder, in the 400 folder. First of all, there's an article. It's called What Makes a Good Teacher, and it is an article. It's not the one I'm talking about. It's not the one I want. Just a minute here. Actually, let me look. It's called Writing Your Teaching Philosophy. How basic. But it's a really good one. Gives you some good hints about how to write a really good, concise philosophy. So if you'd read that, and then there are 2 articles. One is What Makes a Good Teacher, and another article is Why We Must Fire Bad Teachers. All good information. Why we must fire bad teachers is happening all over the state and all over the country right now. It's got some good up-to-date, cutting-edge information. So use these articles in your philosophy of education that you worked on, and revise that, reflect on what you've done and what you know and everything that you've done, and write a 1-page paper. You're going to be revisiting that paper not only now, but probably in student teaching, because you'll be adding more experiences and things change. So just know that you'll be revising that again. In this philosophy, there are 2 guidelines to keep in mind, and that is to avoid a lot of the phrases as I believe, I think, I feel, I plan. We're going to go along with the guidelines that are here. So, again, as you've done with your assessment philosophy, convey your passion. I heard it, I felt it as you were speaking. Do the same for your philosophy of education. Just try to make it concise. And another reason why is because when we get to the assignment with the pamphlet, the All About Me pamphlet, you are going to be asked to put your philosophy of education in that pamphlet. So you want to devise something that is very concise. Let's see. So again, the tools are your previous philosophy. The samples, there are 3 of them. They're all different. They're excellent ones. And the 2 articles. And the only product that you need to have for next time, and the next time again is March 24th, is your philosophy of education. And that, anything else you can finish up and do for us.
And that's you.
And just be advised and be prepared that you probably will be sharing those with the rest of us just like this in class. Okay? Any questions about what's, the other thing too is reflective response number 4 is also due. Okay?
When is the final reflection due? So reflection 5, when is that due?
Wait, what reflection would this be? I'm confused now.
Did you do one last week?
This is 4. Yeah, you did 3.
Yeah.
Reflective response free.
Okay, so
this is
3.
4, and it's due March 24th. And then the 5th one is going to be due, well, according to the checklist sheet, it's April 14th, but we might have to reschedule that date too.
Okay.
Okay.
I was just curious because I accidentally did reflection number 4 last week. So I'm like 1 ahead right now. And I was like, maybe I'll just finish that one up. But if it's a little bit in advance, then I'll wait.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, you know what? We're coming to the end here, but I'm going to ask you to do one more thing.
This is my little one, James.
Not, hi, James.
He's been very, very good, and I'm so glad. I was a little worried, but he's very good today.
I'm going to ask you to do an exit slip from your next ticket to go, but I'd like you to do that in a private way, and that's a private email to me. And would you send me an evaluation of this video seminar? And just in that evaluation, tell me what you thought were the strengths and weaknesses of doing it this way. Love to have that feedback. How's that sound?
I like it.
And
I liked it too.
you can do that. Thanks. You can do that anytime. I liked it too. What's not to like about doing it right from your house?
Exactly.
Exactly. Right.
I just have a quick question.
Go ahead.
It's about the professional development because I haven't done any yet, and I didn't even hear about the Smarter Balance thing that like people went to.
Right.
So I don't want to I don't know where I'm supposed to be looking to find this. I mean, like I look at the walls to see if anything's posted, but I just don't want to miss out on things like that. Like I wish I.
Yeah, Caitlin, you know, there hasn't been a lot this semester.
Okay,
So
because I feel like I haven't seen any.
there's one thing that I can tell you all about, and I'm glad you asked that or brought that up, because there's another professional development that if you are around that you can do it. I believe March 28th. I've got to move my computer. I'm going to be going haywire here for a minute. I do believe it's the 28th and the 29th. It's the main science fair, and that's in Bangor. And that would count as a professional development.
Okay.
We went to some of those seminars, or some of those, however they're presenting them.
Yeah.
So if you're doing that in conjunction with your science methods course, it would also work for EDG400.
Okay.
Okay? And that's the only other thing that I know about coming up. But if I find out about more, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So, are you all set about the assignment that's due March 24th? At our next semester seminar is March 24th at 4 o'clock. Jared will be there, and
That's in Scheibels, right? Like in our regular room?
yeah, 204 Bibles. And I just lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. Assignment 7 is due on the reflective response number 4. And if everybody has any questions, I think we're done.
Woo!
Yay.
Good job, team.
Don't forget, everybody say hello to Alicia, because she'll be viewing. Oh, I know.
Hi, Alicia.
Hi, Alicia.
Hey, Alicia.
I will also, everybody, I will send you this link. So if you choose to, you can also view this recording. Okay? All right. Then we are done.
All right.
All right.
Bye. See you.
Bye. Thank you.
Of course.
Bye.
All right, I'm stopping the recording. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, stop.